Welcome everyone to another episode of The Joy of NFTs. I am super excited for this episode. And if you haven't watched this show before, this show, we try to provide a platform to different artists within the NFT space and open up the conversation between artists, collectors, and other members of the community. This show is also inspired a little bit on Bob Ross' Joy of Paintings. So on each show, he did a piece of art. And just like on his show, we are also going to be doing a sketch or a challenge where the artists are going to have 10 minutes to provide a glimpse into the creative process. So today we have Kelsey J. She's a self portrait photographer and model from Seattle. Hi, Kelsey. Thank you for joining.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yes. We also have Ted. He's a digital artist and photographer from Taiwan, but he's now based in San Francisco. And we also have collectors and NFT enthusiasts, Sven and North Cal Guy. Thank you so much, both of you, for joining today.
Yeah, thank you for having
Thanks
us.
for having us.
Super cool background, Sven.
I couldn't help myself. If I'm gonna be on stream with Ted, I got to have Ted behind me as well. So.
Oh yeah, I love it. Well, I know Ted and Kelsey is my first time meeting you, Norcal and Sven. So I would love to hear a little bit about you and how did you start collecting NFTs?
Sure. You want to go first, NorCal?
Sure. I guess I've been in crypto for a little bit, but first jumped into Top Shot actually, and was in some discords, and then started hearing about NFTs more and art blocks. So started flipping those a little bit in the beginning of the year. I guess a year ago now, and then slowly got into one-of-one work, and then from there I just enjoyed the relationships and the friendships I started to make, and slowly over time, I guess, got into photography NFT.
Love
But
that.
yeah, that's the short, quick.
Yeah, I'll try to make mine equally quick. I have a similar origin story, although I wasn't crypto native. I did start on Top Shot, like a lot of other people, but very quickly migrated over to Nifty Gateway and did a ton of collecting kind of the first quarter of 2021. That's actually when I first linked up with Ted, which was, you couldn't miss Ted once he discovered Discord. He was everywhere. And shortly after his drop, which was, there are a number of nifty drops that I, remember, vividly from this time last year. But, when Ted had his drop, I remember there's a day in March when somebody said, you should go buy some limited editions from Ted. I hear he's going to give out some prints. So I went and bought both limited editions, and I've been collecting Ted's work ever since, and have met just a ton of other incredible artists. Formed a collective as well, the Mad Pups, which we're now kind of curators in the space. So we had our fourth Nifty Gateway drop that we curated yesterday, which was really great. And yeah, I'm an enthusiast, as you said. So
Awesome.
Happy to be here.
And I love that you both have collected photography specifically, because photography wasn't like I wouldn't say it wasn't like that big at the beginning of last year, or at least in my experience. A lot of the popular NFTs were like 2D, 3D art, motion graphics, and then photography really started to come in kind of towards the end of or middle to end of 2021, and now it's like everybody recognizes that it's just it fits so well within the space. What made you actually start collecting specifically photography?
Well, for me, it was just I've collected some physical photography, just a couple pieces, but it's like the easiest way for, I guess, the everyday person to connect with a piece of art for me. You can visually see that image and that's real life. You can go visit it. There's a lot of connection there. Whereas, with 3D to 2D art, sometimes you need a story behind it or it's interpreted differently. But I just felt there was an easy connection that was undervalued and no one was paying attention to it.
No, I'd echo that actually. I think you put it really well, NorCal. I think that I was resistant to some aspects of NFTs when I first heard about it, and it did take till Top Shot, which is like I collected sports cards as a kid and I could connect with it. And I remember the first couple photography NFTs I saw. I was still that like mindset where like, what's the value of putting this on chain? But the more I got to think about it, I've heard it said before that the media, like NFTs and being on chain, it's really the medium that photography was designed for more than anything. And so once I kind of realized that and embraced that, it's just become so powerful. And even today, I saw some pictures and I'd be remiss. I was conflicted. We're doing this, and there's obviously a lot of stuff going on in the world. But I've seen some images coming out of Ukraine, and the first thing I actually thought of was like how powerful photography, is. And I mean, one image in particular. I mean, there's a lot of images that stuck with me, but there was this incredible photo I saw that just captured everybody kind of trying to leave Kiev, and it brought me back to some of the photography NFTs that I've seen. That it's just incredibly powerful, and I think in many ways it can help. We're still on the path to mainstream adoption with NFTs. I think photography is one of the best ways that we'll get there because it is something that everyone can connect with in so many different ways. So not to go in too serious a direction, I know we're going to have some fun on this, but it did strike me as relevant today.
No, absolutely. I think one of the things fun fact, I don't think anybody knows this about me, but when I was like 10 or 12 years old, my mom, I've always been into art. I've never been an artist, but I've always appreciated it. But my mom actually put me into this photography class. And it was so fascinating to see, like you were saying, Sven, photography as a way to connect with real places and also is a way to capture history, like what's happening right now, and people are able to see it through photography and through video, and that is just so powerful. And then combining that with blockchain where you can track everything and see who the actual person is, that is just like another level that adds to just how beautiful everything works together. And I want to turn it to you, Kelsey and Ted. The first time that I've talked with many artists within the space, and even artists that are not in the space but are trying to get in the space. And one artist actually told me, I have all this work, but like, why would anyone be interested in buying my photography? And I feel like that's a feeling that a lot of artists have at the beginning, especially when they don't know about NFTs. So I would love to know, what was your first interaction with NFTs, and if you had that feeling that this other artist was mentioning.
I can go just because, funnily enough, my first interaction with NFTs was when Ted texted me one day, and he's like, a couple of our friends, he's like, you need to get on FaceTime because I'm doing this sale online and you need to be there to see it. And I thought he was doing a print sale, and I like didn't care. I was like, Ted, I do print sales all the time. Like, I don't know, I'm busy today. And that's when I learned what Nifty Gateway was that was his first Nifty drop, and that's when I went down the NFT rabbit hole. And yeah, I felt that way for like the first few months because, like, to what you have all said, like photography was not a thing in the beginning. I was like hopping on Clubhouse rooms. I think actually, Lex, you were in one of the first rooms I ever joined, and I think it was with Imani, and like all these digital artists are being sold, and I was like, hey, can photographers do this? Like, it seems really cool. And so I started minting, and like it took a really long time to sell because I think NorCal was one of the first collectors I ever saw buy photography, but for a while there was just nobody that was doing it. So yeah, I felt that way. And I think just like if you care enough about like your work and creating your work and whatever story it is you have to tell as an artist, and like eventually it's going to resonate with the right people. You just have to keep going, and you can't, it's not an overnight thing. And this, even in NFTs, it seems like it's moving so fast. Like as an artist, it's just not overnight. So you just have to keep going, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I think it's just like it's just all about like storytelling and well telling like different media in different ways. So some use photography, some use 3D, some like me, I use Photoshop composite and like stock photo, because like sometimes I couldn't take like all the photos, so I have to use it. So at the very beginning, I remember like most of the stuff I see on NFT was all 3D motions and visuals and graphic stuff. So I actually had to send out too when I was dropping on Nifty Gateway. I was like, well, I don't see any photography or Photoshop related stuff. I was like, I don't know if people are gonna like it or buy it. And like for me at the time, I was like, maybe NFTs is all for like 3D graphic stuff. I was just like, oh god, like this is not gonna work out. But I talked to a few of my friends who was already on the platform and did a drop. That's like, oh, don't worry, it's gonna be fine. It's just like new, but like people will like it. So I was like, all right, I don't have anything to lose, so I'm going to give it a shot, right? Because like you miss every shot you don't take. So I was like, all right, F it, I'm just gonna do it. And then I called Kelsey and my friend. I was like, you guys have to be there, watch this. Like, maybe this is where the history is being made, or nobody buy it. It's gonna be really funny. So I was like, I just like I need my friends to be there to see like this unknown media and platform, this whole new technology. Well, not really new technology, but like the new movement for it. So when it happened, and then everybody was just like, oh my god, like this is crazy because like we've been working in art for so many years, and then we never get that much appreciation from it, or to find this amount of success from it. So really thankful for like every collector, everybody believing this, right? And then like now we're even also like we turn to collectors too, collect like from other artists and cool projects to help support them. And it was really cool. I remember like my one of our friends comes in, Sven, he was like, hey, you need to buy this 2 prints, and he bought it. And I never met Sven at the time. So I was like, oh, thank you so much, I'm gonna send like prints to you. And then we become friends, and we're partying like MT NYC and Miami. So it was like really cool. There's like a lot of stories, and like go from there. But yeah.
Yeah, and it's like community, right? Like I feel like in the traditional art world, it might be a little bit more of a barrier between like buyers and sellers, and it's more of like this like formal thing to where it's more of like admiration, formality. And now here it's like we're having late dinner in Miami and like talking about like our projects and what we want to create. And that's so cool to be a part of. And to go back to both of you, so Kelsey, you actually made a career in social media before NFTs. How was it to transition into NFTs and add that to your career?
Yeah. So for some background, I originally became a full-time like freelance creative. It's hard. I do photography, modeling, all the things. Almost 3.5 years ago now. So when I learned about NFTs, it was around like the 2.5 year mark. And I got into a point where I'd been kind of burnt out because like originally social media was like an incredible tool to be able to do this full time, because I had been trying to interview production companies, like commercial photography companies, and I was like, everyone told me I was unqualified to literally like get coffee essentially. So I just kept doing PR because I was like, I barely can't do anything else. So I figured out that Instagram could be the vehicle to be able to get the commercial clients, and get the kind of accolades that I needed to become a photographer. And it was incredible for so long. I mean, it still is to an extent, although it's changed a lot. But I got really burned out because with social media, you get put in a box. Like you have to create for an algorithm. You have to create what a commercial client wants you to create. And there's only so much you can do. And I felt like I wasn't necessarily being true to like what I wanted to do as an artist. And I think, we've been told this term for so long that we're influencers, we're content creators. And I think that really takes away your agency, that like you are an artist, you get to create what you want, and it starts to feel like you can't, or that you're not good enough to do that. So with NFTs, once I found out about that, it felt like such a new way to be able for any of us to be able to create the work that we really want to. that is really like the most true to us and what we want to say and create. So for me, even though like it wasn't about necessarily just like getting to make money from my work, and which I think is great for so many artists that haven't been able to do that, but for me it was to be able to have the flexibility and the time to create what I want. And that was so exciting because I've been burnt out since like 2020. I was like, why am I doing this anymore? And I was like, this is so exciting that we can
Yeah.
all do this. And I think through this vehicle, we're all going to be able to see so much new, beautiful art that wouldn't have been created without NFTs. And I think that's what got me really excited about it and wanted me to go all in. So now it's just the balance between, I still do some commercial work, but I'm mostly focusing on NFTs, and just trying to balance those two things is kind of like been the challenge of late, but it's been a fun ride. I love it. Yeah.
Ted, and you have been well known for your surreal photography pieces, but you also do street photography and fashion. And which one did you start with? And well, I'll start with that question. I like so many,
Yeah.
but I have to make sure that I ask one at a time.
So this go back to like part of my journey as an artist. Like I think this is like 2014-ish. This is when the beginning of Instagram commuting was like thriving with like instant meet, and then a lot of like stuff on like natural photography to like street photography, portrait meetup, and all kind of this. And that's also when I was hosting the meetup, and I met Kelsey and some of my other friends. This like 7 years ago, I believe. And from there it was just like I was learning and meeting so many different photographers and artists, and I was just like, oh wow, like I want to try to like take cool photos like them. And I was doing that about like 6 months ish or so. I have like a lot of like great adventures, like exploring places I've never been, learning so much technique. But then I start to like quite well kind of get curious, like, well, what else can I do, or what can I bring from my own styles to this like photography, besides like since everybody's doing the same thing, like I'm just like want to stand out. Also, I just want to like I like to be slightly different, but not saying like I'm special or anything. Right? I just like to try different things. So I there's like another funny story, but anyway, so like I went to like this like art exposition, become like a lectures thing, but I get to meet this photographer and to see what he was doing with like commercial with 3D models and like Photoshop and stuff. So I was like, oh, I can kind of do that. Like I want to give it a shot. So I started like diving into like YouTube, and then like learning from my classmates, and a lot of like people like teaching me some like tricks and tips. And then I kind of just like went from nature photography to like street portrait, and then back to like surreal fantasy stuff. But at the same time, like I always have like a passion, love for like street photography, especially like black and white. It's like when I was studying film in grad school, I was like, oh, when you take the color away, you get to see so many more underneath it with like line textures, lighting, contrast, and everything like hiding the stronger emotion. Also, like I'm not so good with colors. So like I just being like quietly like walk around during the grad school time. Like I don't really have much. I have was like an iPhone 4S and 6 Plus. So I just like carry my little camera and then like taking photos wherever I work, walk around and get to explore the city. So it's like I took photo of like for like maybe 6 years straight, but like I barely tell people about this project. And it just like I was like, oh, it'll be nice one day I'll have my own little gallery. I can show this like street photography. But I was like, oh, I'll just let it dream on. I'll just still take it for fun and then like collect those, right? Just for me. And when NFT come out, I was like, wow, this is gonna be like a perfect platform or somewhere I can just like show all my work on there. And then, I'm not worried about like if it sells or not, but it would be cool to have people feel like the same connection to it and then be like want to be part of it. Yeah, and Kelsey know about that secret accounts, only a few close friends. And then like even some of my friends that I hang out every day, they didn't know about it, so I showed them. I was like, oh what? Like you work on this? I was like, yeah, I don't know what to do with it because like everybody like my Photoshop fantasy surreal work, right? They look at my street
Yeah.
it's like, what? So yeah, that's how I got into this whole thing.
So, I mean, Kelsey knows NFTs because you involved her on your first drop. But who was the person who got you into it?
Oh, it was Bebo. Like I follow him, and it was like throughout like the pandemic, like there's not much photographer job going on because I do like with my friend's agency, we do like fashion, food, events, and everything. So during pandemic, like that all got taken away. So we literally didn't have a job for like a whole year. And I was just browsing Instagram and just like, like being part of like the couch is like, like life sucks. I don't know what to do. I'm about to go and create this job hunting. And then he was like, hey, if you're a digital artist, you gotta get into NFT. I was like, I don't know what NFT is, but I trust this guy. I'm just gonna dive in. So I went on
You have
NFTGirl and
to
applied
trust
for it.
people.
Yeah, I'm so desperate. I was like willing to try anything. I was like, everything sounds cool. And living in Bay Area, we have like a certain knowledge of like blockchains and technology because you hear about people talk about it all the time. So I was like, oh, like this is like I'm curious about it, and I started diving, got so deep into it, and then just like spent 2 months researching like what exactly is non-fungible tokens, what it do, and then possibility of it, And my drop was like March last year. And that's like when I do full invest into this. And on the drop day, I was like calling them, just like, yo, you guys gotta like check this out, like I want to tell you guys about this crazy thing I've been like diving into, But that's how it all started.
Yeah, that's super cool. And now you have it's no longer Ted's little dream. It's like a big dream now. But that's so cool that you started with that name.
Yeah.
And Kelsey, you also have like your own very personal style that is super special. I told you this when we met for the second time, where I didn't realize that you are the photographer and also the model. So that's like a new level of self-portrait photography. So what made you uh, want to have that focus on having that dual role that not many people do, or at least I haven't seen that a lot. So I think that's really something that sets you apart from other photographers as well.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, I honestly I wasn't sure in the beginning when NFTs came out that that was going to be like what I was going to run with. Essentially, like my background is I've always been in photography, but then I signed with a modeling agency and became a model. And then when I got back into photography and quit modeling, I was like, I'm a photographer. I don't go on camera. That's not for me. I shoot models. And then I'd find myself wanting to also be on camera because like I knew what I wanted the person in the photo to like to emote or how I wanted them to pose or all these things. And I was like, well, I just want to do that too. I guess I'm just a control freak. I don't know. But so I started wanting to do self-portraits and a lot of my other work is collaborative. Like I've worked with Ted on a bunch of projects and like other photographers I love where we can bounce ideas off each other, or I can just like be like, hey, I'm trying to shoot this. Can you want to help me do it? But with NFTs, I started seeing the environment and seeing what collectors were telling me about the types of things they wanted to collect as well. And it made a lot more sense that I felt like I could set myself apart if I was the self-portrait photographer of my own work. And that's the kind of work that is like closest to me anyways, because I feel like that is what's unique about what I can do is there's not that many people that can hike up a mountain to get to this crazy landscape, but also can like bring a dress and like set up a tripod and like pose in it. Like no one else can really have that signature to their work. And it's what I love to shoot the most. Like it's the closest to my heart. So it just seemed to make sense that that's what I would run with.
That's super. And it's super cool to see. And once you started explaining it to me, of like, no, like I actually set up the camera and like the whole production. And I was just like, wow, like I was super impressed. And I would like to know from NorCal and Sven, what do you look for when you're scrolling through and you're collecting? What's something that usually like captures your attention to like want to take a look at a piece?
Oh man, this is kind of tough because it is really personal, I guess. It's like for me, it's like if it pops, the color, like with Kelsey's latest piece that I got of Morro Rock and Morro Bay. Like I grew up going to that place. So like it was a personal connection for that particular piece. But yeah, I mean, you're scrolling through, it's hard once you see something you like, I mean, it just reaches out to you. From there, I usually will, depending on price, I will um, contact the artist and talk with them a little bit before making a purchase or a bid.
Yeah, I think it is a hard question because there's no one thing that I'm looking for. I don't come from like an artistic background. I mean, despite my background behind me,
Same.
I've discovered different types of art that I like. I think a lot of people, I mean, especially what we in Noricon, I both came in through Top Shot. That's, it's not art, despite what you can try to tell yourself. But I think a lot of people learn to appreciate art, which has been really great about NFTs. And I think there are certain things that, like, when you're scrolling, there's so much out there that catch your eyes, and it tends to be something that has more vibrancy to it, more depth. That you can actually see a story in it. But more than anything, as there's a time a year ago when, like, you could actually look at all the art that was out there. Now it's like there's just so much, it's so overwhelming, and so I tend to gravitate towards people almost more than the art. Like, and I know that's probably a little bit unfair, because I don't think all artists are as comfortable telling their story, engaging on social media, certainly getting on camera. But a big part of Web3 is community and connection that people can have. And so we all have limited time, limited resources, and I've just enjoyed collecting art from artists that I am able to build a relationship with. And, like, I was drawn to Ted's art because of the art, but I keep collecting it because of Ted. I mean, and so I think that is, like, I don't know. That's what brings me a lot more joy than anything else. Like, it's a bonus that it's good art, but it's the people.
Yeah, I love that. And talking about community, this is something that I was very curious to know, because building a following is not something that just, like, happens overnight. I think both of you, Ted and Kelsey, can attest to that, since you've had a massive following before NFTs. How is it for you? Is it different? How does it compare, like, building the following on, like, Instagram, TikTok, compared to Twitter and more of, like, NFT related marketplaces?
Oh gosh. It is different, and I think it's different in a good way, because when you look at platforms like Instagram and TikTok, like, your main goal is just to have the highest following and the highest possible engagement, which makes you focus on numbers. And that's the reality of that business. If, like, your intention is to be able to work with brands or make money from your work or be able to sell products, like, that makes sense. But I really like Twitter because it really is about the genuine connections. Like, I've never really been worried about my follower count so much. Like, of course, the more you engage with the community, the more followers you're going to get, of course. But it's not as important. It really isn't. Like, I feel like the genuine connections you make, like going to the events and getting to sit down and talk to you, or getting to, like, go hang out with Ted and meet some more new artists. Like, I got to grab beers with NorCal like a week or two ago, and, like, those connections are so much more important than having 10K with a little K on under your name, like we used to care about so much on Instagram. So it's different. I don't think it matters as much. I think sitting on the spaces and getting to talk to people, messaging people in the DMs and getting to really interact with them is so much more important, which is really great. I think we're focusing on the things we should be now, which is really cool.
Ted, what about you?
Yeah, for me, it was always fun because, like, back when I started doing Instagram, it's more always about, like, I just want to share my art somewhere, and it was the perfect social media at the time before Vine, TikTok, and other app comes out. So that's a place where I keep posting my artwork, and it's like a journey just to show, like, just something I like to do. And I remember it's not till, like, about maybe like 5 years ago, there's a photo I made. It was like jellyfish flying above the cloud. I really love that piece. And then that kind of put me under like on the radar, like with some like big blog and like article I wrote about it. Just like, oh, this is pretty cool, so they feature my artwork. So that was like the first time of me like just like, oh wow, there's like an article wrote about my work, because I feel like I made it or something. It's like the beginning of the journey. And that gave me like a more motivation to do it too. And it also just really fun to like share it online and people will get to see, and it's just like, brighten their day. That's like just something I like to do. So I just keep doing it, just like once I work on my craft too, just like, it's fun to just share my work and people sees it, right? And then when it comes to Twitter, it was like pretty fun, like on empty space building audience, because like Twitter is like kind of addictive. Just like I can tweet out whatever I'm thinking, whatever I'm feeling, and then I can share like cool art I see, or like some funny stuff, or like say, hey, trying to like get hype on some projects, just doing things. Just Twitter is really fun. You got like instant engagement, and nobody really like mind if you're like over tweeting. I can reply to your tweets like, haha, this is great, or I'll tweet out something like, hey, everybody have a good time. So it's like really fun way to engage with like people in the space. With Discord too, I'm always on there checking and like talking with other people, like collectors, artists, or anybody. So for me, it's like a very different kind of way to build it. That I don't have to worry about it to like, because on Instagram I always have to like think about like, oh, like this is a new week, I need to make new content, need to have challenge or
Mhm.
practice my skills, right? But on Twitter, I just like, oh, I can tweet whatever, it's fun. Like I can get to be myself and show my personality, which I
Yeah.
don't really show that much on Instagram. Of course, there's TikTok and like other thing. Like I'm not really good with TikTok, but Kelsey has like a really fun like TikTok travel page too. You get to see like all the cool places you travel, little dance and all that. So it's pretty cool. You get to see like how everybody uses like social media differently and engage with their audience.
And I think that's also very like a really important part of like onboarding and teaching other artists and other um art, lovers how to engage in the new NFT space. And you both, oh, I've seen you, Kelsey, go on your stories and just like, hey, ask me anything. And you start answering with like just very, very simple questions. And I think it's a really good practice to not forget completely about the other social medias, just because there's still so much more to build, and there's so much maturity that the space has to go through. And if we just completely like shut down the other side and just focus on this, it's like, well, we kind of create like our own bubble, and the rest of the people like have no idea what's going on. But I would love to know also from Sven and NorCal, like, I mean, I know that you don't have to show your pieces on Instagram and TikTok, but as a collector, you do have to keep up with the market, and if you're a trader, even more. And if you want to learn from other artists and you have to keep up on the DMs and things like that, was it something new that you had to kind of learn the motions of, or were you experienced with like going on Twitter and just like the whole world of being on social media?
You know, I've definitely, been on social media for a long time, but I've used it in a very different way. I mean, I've never had a massive audience on Instagram, and but I can tell the differences. It's interesting to me, when you see artists who have these huge followings on Instagram. I imagine most of their followers don't really know them, but now when you can engage on Twitter or on Discord, like it's much more, person to person in a way that's just authentic, and you get to know somebody. So I think that's great, right? It's not like people still value the quality of the art, but now they can actually build a deeper relationship. For me, I probably had more experience kind of navigating Twitter, but my old Twitter accounts, it was like all news and politics and sports, and then COVID hit, and it was like all these COVID people to follow, and like I was probably getting really actually like disenchanted with Twitter and didn't want to be on it as much, and then like would delete it off my phone at times, and then NFTs come around. It's like, oh, I got to get back on Twitter. So I still have my old Twitter account, which like nobody follows me, and I just follow like world like news sources and whatever, and then I have my like NFT channel. The NFT Twitter account is like so much more fun. So that's been my experience with it.
Yeah, I'd have to say similar to Sven. Um, I was on Twitter before, but I was just like crypto Twitter. I was just following accounts, seeing what guys' thoughts were on things, scrolling Twitter. Now I'm like in the DMs and notifications and hardly ever scroll Twitter. It's just, I guess, figuring out that balance of how many conversations can you keep up with.
Yeah. Absolutely. I was actually, so I was sick and I was like laying down, and it was like the only time that I had time to go through all my DMs, because I was like there's like hundreds of them. But it's important because you never know like what conversations are coming your way. And it just takes like one legit one to be to start like something new, a collaboration, or even meeting someone like Ted or Kelsey that can show you like their work, and like both of you had, you know, had a deep connection with their creations. So that's really cool to see. I think right now it's a good time to switch into the challenge portion of the show. Okay, so now we're in the challenge portion of the Joy of NFTs. So how this works is that a member of the community proposed a theme, and typically they propose a word, and the artist sketches something based on this word. But because we have NFT photographers, we did a little twist. And how this is going to work is that Kelsey is going to be editing Ted's photos, and Ted is going to be editing
Oh,
Kelsey's photo. And you are going to have 10 minutes to do the editing for the photo. And then we'll be able to see the before and after afterwards. And also you'll be able to complete the piece after the show. So don't worry, this is not a final piece type of thing, but you know, kind of a big deal. So let's get it started. So I'm gonna start the 10-minute clock. And so timer. So ready,
go, go,
set,
go.
go. All right,
Ah, okay.
timer
It's
started.
funny. I can't even see Kelsey's screen because
I can't. I know this is
laptop.
good. You
Yeah.
can distract me with your like Photoshop craziness.
Oh yeah. Showing me the dark side. So are we gonna talk
Oh
about like our
gosh.
process or like?
Yes. So actually, this is a really good exercise to see how good you are at multitasking, because I want to know. I mean, photography, you have to select the location, you have different equipment, and then you have the editing portion afterwards. So, can you tell us your kind of creator stack of uh, where do you even start and what do you use?
Yeah. Well, wait, from photos or like the program we're using?
Both. So where do you start? Like first thing that you decide on when you're gonna do a photo shoot, and then what programs do you use?
Yeah. So I actually travel a lot with Kelsey and one of our
I
other
just
friends.
drag him
Sometimes-
everywhere.
Yeah. So once we pick a place, we plan out the dates and when we're gonna go, and then we get all the location and everything done. And for me, like I usually import all the photo into Lightroom, and I'll select the one I like and bring to Photoshop, do a little bit editing, back to Lightroom, and then back to Photoshop, do some final composite. But not sure how Kelsey's process works for that.
It's like similar, just like I just do a little less Photoshop than you, I think. Almost most of my stuff is in Lightroom, and then like if I have to do a composite, if I like need to take out some stuff, like in this photo, there's some like I don't know, it looks like there's like a jacket or something. I'll do that in Photoshop, but most of mine is usually Lightroom. I don't put jellyfish in the sky like Ted or anything.
Yeah, like Lightroom is great that you can do a lot of like color corrections and then like a lot of cool things. There's like so much you can do. Like you don't even really need Photoshop to do it. But for me, it's like because I operated in Photoshop for so long, it's just like easier for me to find stuff in here, which is like pretty much does the same thing.
Yeah, there's so many places that I personally like to visit, and as a photographer, I feel like that would be like my biggest struggle to like even decide where do I want to go. How do you guys decide on like the shooting locations?
Oh my gosh, it's just so many factors. Sometimes it's like what's accessible on the time of year. I mean, like this edit photo I'm editing that me and Ted shot in Washington, like a lot of the hikes here you can only do from July through September because of the weather. So like actually I think a lot of my shoots are weather dependent on what you're trying to get. Or like if you want Aurora, it's gotta be winter. If you want to do Firefall in Yosemite, me and Ted have done that together. That's like a week window essentially. So I'm like kind of decide like when I have time, where I can go, how cheap are flights. Do I need to like work with someone to get there because some places aren't accessible without permits? Like, yeah, it kind of just goes from there. But some trips take like years to get together. Like I've been planning my China trip for like 2.5 or 3 years before I actually got to go shoot it. So
Wow.
yeah, it's pretty crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, we tried a few times for the Firefly. I remember the first year we got there,
There was no water one year.
Wow.
Not good. Yeah.
You guys have 5 minutes left.
Oh my gosh.
Did I cut off?
Can you what?
Oh no, I thought like my internet caught up or something. It was like lagging a little bit.
It was lagging, but we can still see your screen.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, like Firefly took us like 2 tries. The first time we got there was like the storm came after that too, and then the next day was like the best one ever we ever captured. It was really cool.
How many places do you go usually in 1 year?
Oh my, it's changed a lot. Like 2019, before everything shut down, I think I went to like almost like I think I went to like 20 countries in a year. I was home, I think, under 40 days of the year. It was insane. Like that year was crazy. And I was actually scared for 2020 because I was like, there's no way I can top that. Like I literally am exhausted. There's no way. Literally flew around the world and stuff. So it used to be crazy. Now I'm due like, I don't know, maybe 2 months out of the country a year right now. Because it's hard to focus on NFTs when you're gone. Like you just can't keep up with it with Twitter and all the things. So
yeah, you travel
more
a lot
balance.
still though.
I guess. I get bored really easily. I'm home for like a week. I'm like, I'm gone again. I gotta get in my car. I don't know.
I know. But yeah, usually I think I go to Yosemite like 3 times a year, and then I like to go to Redwood, Oregon, or wandering around. But there's like some national park I want to try this year, like maybe like Glacier or Yellowstone or like Alaska. I want to go to Alaska.
Dude, let's
like
go to Alaska. I want to go.
Are we going to Alaska? I can go.
Let's do it. And I'm trying to plan for July. So you heard it here first, folks.
Wait, are you supposed to go July or winter? Because I want to see Northern Light, but also like, like, I don't
do
want to get
both.
eaten by the bear.
How long are usually the excursions? Because I've talked with other photographers that do like 6 months excursions or like some crazy things like Kath Simard. She was like telling me that she was gonna go on like to Patagonia for a while. So how long do you guys usually spend at a single location?
It definitely depends on how difficult it is. Like, so like something that Kath is doing, you're gonna have to hike in for so long to get to the shot that you want. So it kind of just depends. Like I'm planning a trip right now, hopefully, I don't want to jinx it, to Peru. And the treks that I want to do there to get certain photos are like 10-day treks, kind of similar. So I'm probably going to be in Peru for a month to just get like the handful of shots I want to get there. But others are easier. Like I've gone places just flown out for like a few days if I know I'm going to time it right. I just like prefer to have at least a week window because you don't know what the weather's going to do, and it really sucks to plan and go all the way out there and then like go home and you've gotten nothing, because that's definitely happens a lot. So yeah, I guess like at least a week, but sometimes up to like a month or 2.
Yeah. What is the craziest thing you've done to get a shot?
I don't know. I feel like I've almost got arrested a few times. So like, I don't know. I got frostbite taking a photo, cut my leg, got to get tetanus shot taking a photo. I just get wrecked every shoot. I don't even know anymore.
She's like trying to kill me too for a few shots,
Yeah, if Ted doesn't die, then like, was the shot worth it? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
NorCal, does this make you appreciate the art even more now that you know that they risk their lives to get the shot sometimes?
Yeah, definitely. It's more valuable.
It would be really funny if you could put like a level of difficulty or like a level of risk that you took for the photo and be like,
oh, that's a trade. That would be.
I thought about doing that as rarity, as like how hard it was to get the photo, how hard it was to get there. I thought about adding rarity to a collection that way, and then I didn't do it, but it would be interesting.
Well, because like some of the shots, you're just like, how did you take this? Where did you take this? Like, it's just some crazy in like amazing landscapes. And by the way, the person who proposed today's today's theme is _ugly Allen. So he voted for nature. So ugly Allen, please keep your DMs open. And thank you so much for participating on this show and helping us get some inspiration. You guys have 1 minute to go.
Oh, there's only 1 minute left?
Yes.
I'm still trying to figure out something
Trying to
real quick, you
get-
know?
No, it's not what I want.
NorCal, have you ever seen anyone like edit live like this?
No, this is actually pretty fascinating to watch.
It
Just
is.
switching between both screens, like watching.
Usually I just see next to Kelsey and it would be like this. Just I do mine, she does, she's just like, hey, what do you think about this? You know?
Yeah, I feel like we always get feedback from like all of our friends, like constantly texting people edits, be like, is this right? Should I do it a slightly different shade of green? Like,
yeah, and I'd be like, hey, what do you think about A or B? And they're like, it looks the same. I was like, no, it's not. You see this like tiny color tint different? And they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? Oh,
I know. I like look
Not
at
like
different
Kelsey.
screens, different light. I'm like, oh, it's so hard.
You guys have 5 seconds. 5, 4.
Oh, let me save this.
No.
1.
I think I won.
Time's over.
I'm gonna take a picture and send to Kelsey.
Love
Hold on.
Yeah, I can't see yours. I'll text it to you too. Mine's like
Wait.
kind of.
Can you guys do the thing where you put like the initial photo and then like, you know how you can go back and forth?
I mean, I can do this. Yeah.
Wait,
that is not my after. Oh, there it goes. Yeah.
This is before and this is after.
Whoa.
Wow.
That is crazy. Do you know like how it's going to turn out? Because like obviously the photo itself, like at the beginning, looks so much different than the final outcome. Do you usually know or like have an idea in your mind of like how you want to edit the picture and how it's going to turn out?
For me, it's yes and no. So like there's 3 type of different way I process like how it works. Usually it's like 1, I have like a concept stuff thing I try to draw it down, put it together, and 2, just like so something really cool that inspired me, just like, okay, you know, like I can work something on top of, you know. So 3, just like I'm staring at like a photo for so long, I start to see stuff and I add stuff on it. It sounds like hallucinating, but like I just stare at it. It's like, can I see a shape, a color, or something like crazy? Will be like a fun adventure, right? You know, so and then I know Photoshop pretty well, so I know like some like quick trick and tip, like I can just swap the whole background, the sky or whatever, and do something like the different color editing. But it's pretty fun.
Yeah. What about you?
I kind of shoot based on how I think I'm gonna want to edit. So like, I mean, like this photo is this is so underexposed, so that you're not blowing out the highlights in the back of like the clouds and like the wispiness with the mountains. So I kind of have an idea, and like usually since I usually have a subject in it, I'm like, okay, like I'm gonna have to bring them back. I'm gonna have to select them with highlights, and so I kind of have an idea of how I want to, or I think about like the mood I want. Like this one, I really like the blues in the mountains, and I don't want to lose that. Like I want the overall. I think I did some color grading so that the entire image actually has like a slight blue tint to it, and I usually do blues or I do like bright warm oranges and gold. So I guess usually when I'm shooting it, I think about what it's going to end up like. And then it's just trying to get the edit to look like how it is in my head. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Like magic. Well, it's been a pleasure having both of you. I hope that we can get many more opportunities to hang out. And I love watching your process and learning more about your journey. I would love for you to just tell everyone anything that you're working on or anything that you would like to share. You can follow both Ted and Kelsey at Ted's Little Dream and Hey Kelsey J on all social media.
Yay!
Awesome. Well, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us. It's so fun.
No problem. No, thank you for supporting the show and for jumping on and being part of this crazy challenge that I'm putting all this artists through. But I think it's going to be amazing, and I can't wait everyone to see the final outcome. Thank you also, NorthGal, for joining. It's so nice to meeting you, and I love having the collectors and the artist perspective. So this has been really fun. Thank you so much,
Yeah, great
everyone,
show. Thank
for
you.
participating.
Yay.
Thanks, guys.